Right, so hello and welcome back to another video. Today I thought I'd have a look at a show you guys have been asking me to look at for absolutely ages. Come dine with me. Now, us Brits aren't exactly well known for our culinary reputation. I mean, we colonised a quarter of the world, brought back half their spices, and yet centuries later our food is still so bland that our national dish had to be created by the South Asian community. But while our gastronomic prowess remains questionable, one thing we are known for is making bloody good TV, and Come Dine With Me may just be the epitome of it. So the format is fairly simple. A group of strangers each get one night to host a dinner party. At the end of the night, the guests score the evening out of 10, and whoever scores the highest wins a £1,000 cash prize. Easy. But the real value comes not from the competition itself, but from the absolute specimens chosen to appear on the show. And since 2005, Channel 4 have been amassing series after series of TV gold, featuring an abundance of freaks, fights,
ouch! Have I just got on that last nerve of yours, my friend?
and sore losers.
Dear Lord, what a sad little life, Jane.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
So the show starts off with the contestants introducing themselves, and almost immediately you can tell exactly why they were selected. Sometimes it's something immediately obvious, like a horrendous laugh.
I've got a bit of a crazy laugh. It's a bit of a witch cackle, and it generally scares most men away.
Jesus, it's like something out of my nightmares. The face she pulls is just as bad as the laugh as well. She looks like she's mutating into a COD 5 zombie.
And it generally scares most men away.
As it's a dinner party, there's almost always booze involved. So sometimes producers pick someone with a party trick they like to whip out when they're drunk.
You know there's only one thing that I can do, and it's this.
Oh, whoopsie!
Nobody told me the door was open.
And with it being a cooking show, the occasional guest even has a novel cooking technique to bring to the table. Like Kev here, who has an unusual way of testing his cheesecake mix.
See what that tastes like.
Honestly, if I looked in the kitchen and saw the chef making a dessert by deep-throating a whisk, I would tactically chunder my starter and my main course on the spot and be in the first taxi home. Forget the £1,000 cash prize, I'm suing for emotional distress and I won't settle for less than £1,000. While the people with the odd laughs and the crippling drinking problems and the hygiene ratings of Burger King foot lettuce provide cheap entertainment, the real gems are the contestants with the deep underlying personality issues. The people that are so competitive they'll stop at absolutely nothing to win, even if it means ruining everyone else's evening to get there. The ones who cannot stand being at the receiving end of some light-hearted banter, and every single joke eats away at their soul. People like Tina here.
I didn't speak to my husband for 3 weeks, so he actually won, didn't he? Because he didn't have to listen to me giving it large, did he?
Oh my god, shoot me. I think producers can tell when they found someone that takes themselves way too seriously, so to really spice things up, sometimes they throw a wind-up merchant in with them. In this next clip, Tina was talking about how her husband surprised her for her 50th birthday when Reese cracked a joke, and not for the first time, she didn't take it well.
Flew me to New York for my 50th birthday. I knew nothing about it. He made arrangements with my work and colleagues and things like that.
Did he go with you?
That's a really horrible thing to say.
Why? Not. It's light-hearted banter.
It's not!
I love how you can tell from the way that everyone laughed at this joke that they all think Tina's annoying as well. And they all just look straight at her after the joke is told like, ah shit, this isn't going to go down well, is it? As the nights progress and the banter continues, it all starts bubbling up. And as the resentment builds, the bantery usually tries firing back. But most of the time, the banter falls flat and it just ends up being really awkward.
At least I didn't serve dry pork.
Inevitably, it gets to the point where it only takes one small joke for it to reach boiling point. One final prod and it all bubbles over and becomes too much for the person on the receiving end to handle.
The most perfect piece of pork she's ever had, and that's why she's left it.
That was really, really below the belt.
Well,
Sometimes, producers seem to choose absolute polar opposites in the hope that it will create some drama. Take Toby and James for example. Toby is a man's man. He likes watching sports like football, rugby and cricket down at the pub, chinning pints with his boys. James, on the other hand, is a bit of a nerd. He's a fantasy novelist that likes the fictitious worlds of Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. And obviously, they just didn't click.
I don't think I've bonded at all with James at the moment. I don't think I get his sense of humour. I think he's trying too hard at the moment.
Although Toby did have a few laughs, even if they were at James's expense.
James,
Oh no, what's this?
where did you lose your virginity? Sorry, I didn't write it.
Calling someone a virgin with laughter alone, peak banter. I think Toby and James realised quite early on that they didn't have much in common. The banter between them never really got going, but there wasn't actually that much drama because I think they both just realised that they were both just good blokes.
James, bless him, he's probably got a heart of gold, but, you know, I think we can see it already that we couldn't have a pint together, that's a definite.
Whilst the host is cooking, the guests often have a chance to snoop around their bedroom, looking for something embarrassing to bring up at the dinner table. But with no whips, chains or Maverick merch to be found in James's room, the gang turned their attention to his collection of published writings, which earned him some praise from Toby.
He's obviously an educated man. Bless him, he's a decent enough chap.
It was the kind of pairing you looked at from the start and thought would be the source of the episode's entertainment. Like, surely they'll clash on something, even if it's stirred up by producers, but they just never did. They just seemed to accept each other's differences and get on with it, and by the end they actually seemed to enjoy each other's company. Surprisingly, the real spotlight stealers were the other two guests. Although they weren't quite the seemingly polar opposites of Toby and James, they absolutely hated each other, and it led to one of the most entitled freakouts in the show's history. Introducing Zyra, a loud, young, energetic hospital radio host, and Heather, an older, calmer lady of leisure who had her eyes on the prize from the very start.
James's menu is not the winning menu, mine is.
Now, admittedly, Zyra was a bit mad. Nothing in your face or particularly annoying, but mad nonetheless.
I'm going to win the come dinings. Yes, Bubbles, am I winning come dinings with me?
And her first quirk, eating with the dog at the table, seemed to be the first time she grinded Heather's gears.
It's not
But
really
I
good
do
for
some-
dogs to eat
yeah.
at the table. At the table in a high chair, come on. It's a blinking dog.
To be fair, you can't really judge her for having an issue with the dog being at the table. I mean, it was in a high chair and not actually at the table, but still, it wasn't an unreasonable thing to complain about. But as the first night went on, Heather's dislike for Zyra grew, and she began picking out more and more flaws in her personality.
My ear's been aching all night, for goodness sake. Shut up.
Within the first hour or so, Heather had already slagged off Zyra multiple times behind her back, but when the opportunity arose to get a passive-aggressive comment in at the dinner table, she just couldn't resist.
Sorry.
Because you're so fun, you're bubbly and you don't shut up. And...
It's not that.
It was laughed off, but it was so obviously not a joke, and the atmosphere got so awkward from that point on. Like, you could just sense the underlying feeling of everyone at the dinner table being like, she just doesn't like her, does she? Because the whole thing's a competition, the dinner parties become a breeding ground for jealousy, and it's made so much worse when two of the contestants start to dislike each other. So when Zyra received a compliment from Toby, Heather absolutely hated it.
Toby said that it was the best thing that he'd eaten ever. And I'm like, what? Where are you eating, mate?
At the end of the first night, it was quite obvious that Heather didn't like Zyra at all, and I think it basically came down to Zyra being younger and more attractive. At least that's how it came across, and Toby and James said that they thought the same thing. Because that seemed to be the reason, there wasn't really much that Zyra could do to change anything, so it just got worse and worse as the week went on. As with Tina and Reese, tensions built up to the point where things that would normally be laughed off were taken way too seriously and blown massively out of proportion.
I think my best asset is my backside, actually.
Oh, hello. People love big bums.
Oh, you said I've got a big bum?
No, I mean...
Did you hear that?
No, I've got a big bum.
I found that a bit rude, actually, because hers is bigger than mine.
I mean, come on now, who still finds being told that they have a big butt offensive? Kim Kardashian didn't die for you to be ashamed of your curves, Heather. Embrace them. The passive-aggressive comments continued and the tensions kept rising, and by the end of the third night, it had gone from indirect comments and backhanded compliments to Heather straight up calling Zyra out for literally the most insignificant things.
You used your knife, young lady. You don't get your knife and go,
Oh, I didn't do that.
yes, you did.
I went like this.
Like, what is she actually complaining about? All Zyra did was lick her knife and she's having a go at her. It's so awkward. I don't understand how you can be this anal on national TV and not be embarrassed. And as if this wasn't bad enough, it got to the point where Heather couldn't even take a compliment because she was so blinded by her hatred of Zyra.
I love the samosa, but this is fantastic. Oh, this is a definite.
I was so insulted when he compared it with Zyra's blinking samosas. How the hell did he do that?
He literally said it was fantastic, compared it to a samosa he said was the best thing he had ever eaten, and she's fuming. It's so weird. Truly though, the best way to get under someone's skin in this show is to get them for the one thing they're being judged on: their cooking. From before the first night even began, Heather was so sure that she was going to win. So when the final night came around and it was her turn to host, nothing rattled her more than one of her guests finding a hair in their food. And of course, it had to be Zyra.
So sorry, there's a hair on it.
Well,
I'll take this bit off.
is it my hair?
I don't know.
What sort of hair is it?
It looks like a black one.
I love the look on her face when Toby says it's a black one. She looks so dejected. It's such an overpowered tactic as well. Honestly, the number of times people criticise food for the most absurd reasons just to give them an excuse to lower their score is ridiculous. Like, yeah, the caviar was delicious, the lobster was cooked to perfection, and the truffles were to die for, but the champagne was a little bit chilly, so 3 out of 10. So the final night comes around and it's usually a time for everyone to be able to get everything off their chest. It's the last time they're ever going to meet, and usually the people who have been at each other's throats all week have had enough, and it all comes to a dramatic conclusion. In this episode, Heather decided that enough was enough, and she finally told Zyra straight up what she thought of her.
You were so loud and so irritating when I first met you. I thought, how am I going to cope with you?
But only irritating to yourself, because I
I'm
quite
not.
liked her.
Excuse me,
her
can I just say,
personality.
I'm talking how I felt, not how anyone else felt in this group. I don't know what you think of Zyra. You've never said.
They're literally saying it right now, you divvy. How entitled do you have to be to pipe up about your own opinion, and when someone else gives theirs, be like, oh sorry, we were talking about what I think, not what anyone else thinks. I know I haven't shown much of Zyra, but she really wasn't that bad. She spoke and laughed a lot, but Toby and James seemed to get on fine with her. Thankfully, Zyra uses this opportunity to stand up for herself in return, and I don't think Heather was expecting it.
I think sometimes maybe you need to learn that it can upset people quite a lot.
No, you're patronising me. Don't do that. I'm 55 and you're a child to me.
Completely blind to the hypocrisy of saying don't patronise me and then calling her a literal child. This has to be the stupidest tactic of all time, and it's actually crazy how many people fall for it. Insulting the people that are going to be judging you at the end of the night and single-handedly get to decide whether you win £1,000 or not. The tragic thing was her food was actually really good. She just completely ruined the entire night by insulting her guests. It's always a bit of luck of the draw, like Zyra got to host first, and after that she kind of had a bit of a free pass. No one's going to score that low on the first night because no one dislikes each other enough to sabotage their score. But Heather literally couldn't say anything all week without it coming back to bite her when it was their turn to judge her dinner party. Not that that stopped her obviously, but imagine what she would have been like had she been up first and been free to be her true self for the rest of the week. Well, now the final dinner is over, this is where we get to the best bit. The results. Inevitably, with each episode, there can only be one winner, but even better, there has to be a loser. So here comes Heather with the results.
Oh my God, this is the best bit ever, all right?
Oh my God.
I don't believe this. I really don't. You put me fourth.
Oh.
I love the R from Zyra. She's not surprised at all. She literally put every nail in the coffin by giving her a 4 at the end of the night. She 100% knew that Heather was coming last because of that. That's the most ridiculous part of this show. The more petty and vindictive you are, the more likely you are to win, because you can just dish out low scores left, right and centre and feel absolutely no remorse. It is shameless and I absolutely love it.
No, seriously, I think you all have really put me, obviously, give me a low score.
Bloody hell, it's the granddaughter of Sherlock Holmes.
I'm really sad about that. You've really peed me off, actually.
Someone's got to come forth, haven't they?
No, because my food was better than any of yours.
Oh, that's lesson learned, isn't it? It's not just about the food, it's about the entire evening. And you ruined yours, didn't you, you grumpy bitch?
I am so shocked that you gave me what you did. My presentation was amazing and far better than any of yours. And I came forth.
What a way to
Do you
end a
know-
week.
No, I'm sorry. I'm so upset with all you. I've been so honest about you. I could have given you a 0 because yours was right?
Jesus Christ, it wasn't even that bad. Heather ate it all apart from one prawn that hadn't been deveined.
Do you know what? I don't deserve 4th. I'm sorry, I'm going to bed. Forget it. I'm so upset. That is so sad.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that.
I'm
to be honest
speechless.
with you.
I'm
No.
speechless.
Unreal. Handled with all of the grace and decorum of a reversing dump truck with no tyres. That has to be one of my favourite entitled freakouts of all time. She was actually horrible to Zyra all week, and she was so sure she was going to win the competition with ease, so it's nice to see some karma bring her back down to earth. There are now over 1,000 Come Dine With Me episodes, and although this definitely rivals the rest for the biggest sore loser of all time, there are so many more freaks and freakouts I could have covered. So if you want me to make another one of these videos, let me know in the comment section down below, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. As always, the links to my Instagram, Twitter, and other social media will be down below, so feel free to come drop me a follow to keep up with the channel, help me decide what future videos to make, or just say hi in between uploads. Also, I'd just like to give a really quick shout out to my Patreon supporters who support me and the channel over on Patreon. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.